Southampton docks, where the ship-to-rail freight operation will tell you they need a national grid upgrade to get electric freight trains moving cleaner, better, faster. 800 miles north, Orkney, a tidal electricity generator. They want to build 10. No can do. The national grid can't take the green power. One end to the other of Britain. Same story of the great national grid bottleneck. So the response is underway.
Let's do the lift then.
Fighting against time to get our bills down. We were given clearance to go down into the London power tunnels, one scheme of scores across the UK. This project, £1 billion over 7 years to rewire London. All told, National Grid is spending £30 billion across Britain over the next 5 years.
Politicians talk of the urgent need to upgrade the national grid. Can sound a bit vague, but this is it in concrete, literally concrete terms. A 32-kilometre tunnel right across London. And that's necessary in part to deliver the green industrial revolution on a big scale and to keep your lights on.
So the grid under pressure as never before to deliver that.
We have to put it into context. You know, the grid was built in the 1960s, and predominantly the infrastructure in the UK is in the middle of the country with the generation in the north and then bringing the electricity down to the south. But there's not much infrastructure on the coast. The government has set a policy to have renewable energy like offshore wind, so we have to build the infrastructure now at an unprecedented scale.
It's like this. Once upon a time, coal-fired power stations near coal fields sent power north-south to our cities. All gone. Now it's east-west energy from North Sea wind farms to your home and workplace. The scale of things in the London tunnel's so big, engineers have bikes to get around. The UK's most unlikely cycle route. But across Britain, all this, of course, means building, a lot more building. And it means these, pylons. A coming planning battlefield. Rural Essex, where the signs are already going up. To get North Sea wind power from the Norfolk coast to London, they plan 510 pylons, 50 metres high, striding across this landscape. Some residents are not happy.
There'll be a pylon just in the ploughed field there.
By day, John Stacey farms 500 acres. By night, he pores over plans to put pylons across his land.
There'll be a pylon in the field between us and the main road, and there'll be one to my left here. And there'll be two further before it goes to my neighbour.
He wants the cables buried instead of pylons.
Overall, it will be less of an impact long-term wise. Planning will be easier. There'll be no compensation needed in terms of financial compensation for loss of property values, things like that.
The very last thing the government wants is delay. But all this does point to the courts of potential judicial review, with leading campaigners insisting the cables should be buried, not pyloned.
Just because we've always done something doesn't mean it's the right way of doing it now. If you look at what the Germans are doing, they've taken a much more forward-thinking approach, and they're using new cables called HVDC, high voltage direct current. That means you can have a trench neatly through the countryside, no pylons, no visual destruction, no impact on tourism, less impact on farming. You could be farming at the end of the season once the cables are laid, and it's cheaper. And we know that's cheaper because 2 of the National Grid bodies have said so in reports of their own.
National Grid disagrees, saying burying the cables in the Essex case wouldn't do the job. You'd need pylons as well, double disruption, more expensive.
That connection offshore wouldn't get enough of the offshore power to where it's needed. So then you have to come back and build another overhead line on top of that. So that's why we do these assessments very holistically. We start with as many options as we can think about and keep narrowing it down until ultimately we get to a recommendation that we think balances all those factors I've just described.
As Essex goes, so the country may follow, with campaigns elsewhere perhaps to bury cables instead of having pylons. But delivering renewable power is the economic centrepiece of a government with a landslide mandate and in a hurry.